Egypt's president says his country has proposed an initial two-day ceasefire in Gaza to engage for Israeli hostages of Hamas for some Palestinian prisoners, as Israeli military strikes killed 45 Palestinians across the enclave. Abdel Fattah al-Sisi made the announcement as efforts to defuse the devastating more than year-long war resumed in Qatar, with the directors of the CIA and Israel's Mossad intelligence agency taking part in it. Russia says its military had advanced further in East Ukraine, capturing the frontline village of Ismailovka, which is located just a few kilometers north of a key Ukrainian-held industrial hub. Moscow has made steady gains on the battlefield for months, pressing its advantage against overstretched and outmanned Ukrainian forces. While the area has a population of just under 200 people before the war, the announcement was followed by Russia claiming it downed 109 Ukrainian drones in a day over several of its regions, including near the border. Ukraine's drones targeted an ethanol plant in Russia's Voronezh region. According to the region's governor, the attack sparked a fire at an unspecified industrial facility and injured one person. Emergency services were then dispatched to control the fire. Republican Donald Trump led a headline-grabbing New York rally with non-stop attacks on Kamala Harris. Trump took to the stage at the iconic 20,000-seat Madison Square Garden Arena to deliver a closing message in the exceedingly tight race for the White House. Trump used the rally in New York to repeat his claim that he is fighting the enemy within and promised to launch the largest deportation program in American history. The US and the European Union called for a full investigation into reports of violations in the elections in Georgia, where the president urged demonstrations following the disputed parliamentary vote. The results, with almost all precincts counted, were a blow for pro-Western Georgians who had cast the election as a choice between a ruling party that has deepened ties with Russia and an opposition aiming to fast-track the integration with the European Union. Georgian president urged people to take to the streets to protest against results of Saturday's disputed parliamentary election, which the commission said that the ruling party had won. Hundreds of Dominicans marched in the capital Santo Domingo in support of the government's decision to deport 10,000 undocumented Haitian migrants every week. The announcement came earlier this month. Government spokesperson Homero Figueroa said that the government had made the decision after noticing an excess of Haitian migrants in the Dominican Republic, which shares the island of Hispaniola with Haiti. At least 500,000 Haitians live in the Dominican Republic, according to the human rights group. South Korea's military has said Pyongyang's argument on drone intrusion were unilateral claims and that the North had entered its airspace multiple times in the past 10 years. Earlier in the day, according to North Korean state media, the North's defense ministry blamed South Korea for sending drones into its territory for political purposes, calling it an infringement upon the country's sovereignty. Tensions between the Koreas have rekindled since North Korea began flying balloons carrying trash into the South in late May, prompting the South to restart loudspeaker propaganda. Japanese Prime Minister Ishiba's coalition fails to secure a majority in the lower house of parliament, leaving no party with a clear mandate to lead the world's fourth largest economy. Ishiba's Liberal Democratic Party and its coalition partner Koimito took 215 seats in the lower house of parliament, down from 279 seats, as voters punished the incumbents over a funding scandal and a cost of living crisis. The Election Committee chief of Japan's ruling Liberal Democratic Party has resigned after the party suffered its worst results since 2009 election. Shinjiro Koizumi submitted a letter of resignation, with media reports quoting him as saying he wanted to take responsibility for the result. Former Bolivian President Evo Morales has claimed that his life in danger after gunshots were fired at his car. His driver was wounded in the attack as assailants with their faces covered shot at him while he was en route to a radio station for an interview in the city of Cochabamba. The radio station that hosted the interview, Question Coca, released a video that it said was of the bullet-ridden pickup truck that Morales had been in. The windshield had 3 bullet holes and the driver had blood on his head. Morales blamed President Luis Arce, a former ally and cabinet minister of his government with whom he has fallen out. Later, he filed a complaint with the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights based in Costa Rica, formally accusing the government agents of trying to assassinate him.
¿Está viniendo?
Sí, está viniendo, está cambiando su llanta en una casa. Aquí está alcohol. Ahí encontró una y trae también.
India and China are expected to complete process military disengagement across the line of actual control today. According to reports, patrolling across certain areas of the LAC will commence once the troops of both sides have completed disengagement and dismantled the structures. This comes days after a crucial agreement between India and China, which is aimed at resolving the border dispute. This was also the first successful resolution to the dispute since the 2020 Galwan clash between the two forces, which led to multiple casualties. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President of Spain's government, Pedro Sanchez, jointly inaugurated Tata Aircraft Complex for manufacturing C-295 aircrafts in Vadodara. Earlier, the two leaders also held a road show in the city as they travelled in an open jeep and greeted people standing on both the sides of the route from the airport to the Tata Advanced Systems Limited campus. California Governor Gavin Newsom has proposed increasing the money available for movie and television production incentives in California to $750 million annually from $330 million. Newsom's office said that the tax credit expansion was to entice some lost directions and directors back into Hollywood's home state, which has recently been affected by limited tax credit funding and increased competition. According to the director of the California Movie Commission, Colin Bell, California lost an estimated $1.6 billion in production spending due to limited tax credit funding between 2020 and 2024. She added that California, it needs to keep pace with the competing states and nations in providing aggressive tax incentives. Philippines is bracing for another tropical storm, Kongray. Kongray has intensified into a severe tropical storm over the Philippine Sea. It is the 12th tropical cyclone to hit the Philippines this year. It comes days after Philippines was hit by severe tropical storm Trami that killed at least 100 people and forced nearly 1 million people to take shelter. OpenAI's transcription tool, Whisper, has sparked concerns among developers and researchers over its tendency to produce hallucinations. Hallucinations refer to incorrect or invented content within transcripts. Reports have revealed that Whisper's transcriptions can include inaccurate details such as racial commentary or fictitious medical information, raising potential risks for its use in environments like hospitals. An OpenAI spokesperson acknowledged the issue, stating that the company is actively working to enhance accuracy and reduce hallucinations. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, also called TSMC, has stopped shipments to Chinese chip maker Sofco after chip it made showed up in a Huawei processor, AI processor that too of Huawei. In 2020, the US expanded export rules to prevent foreign-made products like TSMC's chips that uses US tech from reaching Huawei. Sofco, however, says it follows all laws and has no business ties with Huawei. The US Department of Commerce said that it was aware of the reports but has not confirmed whether any investigation or probe is ongoing. TSMC, the world's largest contract chip maker, in response said that it has not supplied Huawei since September 2020. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has raised alarms about rising cybercrime in the country regarding digital assets and digital arrest scams. During his radio address, the Prime Minister explained that these scams target everyone. He also emphasized the importance of personal vigilance, as no illegitimate investigative agency would initiate contact through calls or video chats to conduct such investigations. Prime Minister Modi also noted that investigative agencies are actively coordinating with state officials to tackle these scams. Oil prices tumble more than $3 a barrel after Israel's retaliatory strike on Iran over the weekend. It bypassed Tehran's oil and nuclear facilities and did not disrupt energy supplies. This pivot away from critical oil facilities has eased geopolitical tensions in West Asia. Both Brent and US West Texas intermediate crude futures hit their lowest levels since October 1st. The benchmarks gained 4% last week in volatile trade as markets priced in uncertainty around the extent of Israel's response to the Iranian missile attack and also the upcoming US elections. Meanwhile, Citi lowered its Brent price target in the next 3 months to $70 a barrel from $74, factoring in a lower risk premium in the near term. India is shaping up to be a destination for investors seeking shelter from financial fluctuations linked to the US election. The country's bonds are now among the best performing in all the markets thanks to a consistent flow of foreign investment. India's divergence from global market was evident last week when its sovereign bonds It was steady despite a global sell-off in US treasuries. The nation has become a key emerging market bet as hedge funds brace for a pickup in global fluctuations. Despite the recent outflow of funds, India is emerging as an alternative for firms looking beyond China. The yen extended losses to 1% while Japanese stocks climbed as investors mulled the implications of the election outcome. The slide in the currency came after 4 straight weekly declines. That's again raised the risk that the authorities wade back into the market to protect the yen. Traders are factoring in when the Bank of Japan is likely to raise interest rates again, given the uncertainty in the political arena. The yen has depreciated 7% against the dollar this month and is the worst performer among its group of 10 peers. Hong Kong outlined its first policy guidelines dedicated to the use of AI in finance and floated a tax break for virtual assets. This comes as part of efforts to promote itself as an Asian business center. Government officials touted a common framework through which different regulatory agencies can craft policy governing the use of AI, which is considered as extremely important to the future of finance and other sectors. They also proposed the extension of a tax break on the ownership of online assets such as cryptocurrencies, promising legislation by the end of the year. Boeing is set to launch its plan to raise more than $15 billion in capital. Reuters first reported on October 16th that the plane maker was closing in on a plan to raise around $15 billion with common shares and a mandatory convertible bond as it sought to bolster finances worsened by a crippling ongoing strike. The new capital is said to come from a mix of the sale of stock and convertible preferred shares. Last week, workers rejected Boeing's latest offer seeking to end the strike that has halted 737 MAX production. The company said earlier this month that it could raise as much as $25 billion in stock and debt with its investment-grade credit rating at risk.